So now we get into the extra features and settings, the rest of the settings of the tester. You can see we have 9 different screens to go into. Besides the black screen, we have a screen settings, so I can choose to have a light screen where everything is now a light background, or I can choose the dark. All units are going to ship in the dark screen, but you have the choice to go dark screen or light screen depending on where you want it to go. The date and time is stored on the unit, so when the test results are spit out either the USB or the Ethernet port, the date and time that those were tested gets appended onto those data. So now when you run your parts, you can understand when they were tested, the date and the time. We can change that as well as the time zone in the settings screen. The I/O settings. If your tester is equipped with a remote I/O for a PLC interface, this is the screen where you would come off and select whether you want the I/O to be able to select programs or how you're going to start it. We have some built-in start by modes that are helpful if there's some automation or semi-automated processes. One of them is the ability to do a fixture lid close, where the part has to be loaded and a lid closes for safety in case like a blast chamber. The lid closes and the test won't start until the lid closes sensed. An input on the I/O needs to be sensed. If the lid opens, the test won't be able to start. Another nice feature is a two-hand safety or an anti-tie down, where 2 inputs have to be held together within 300 milliseconds of each other and held through any clamp time. This happens if you have a cylinder coming down to seal on a part. The operator can't start the test and stick their hand in under the cylinder and get pinched or hurt from that. So that's already built in based on the I/O. This is where the screen that you'll come to activate that. Data logging allow shows us now how we're going to save it, whether we're going to use the serial port, whether we're going to use an Ethernet port or the thumb drive, or we're going to store records on the machine. We can choose whether we want to see just the result or we want to see a pressure plot every 1 second or every 1/10 of a second, or whatever interval I choose. I can see the live pressure plot, so I can create some curves and graphs on screens to understand how your part reacts. We can select to use a barcode scanner in the same screen, where we can enable it so that when I scan a barcode, it will append that barcode to the data results that are spit out, whether one of those selections that we've chosen. And then I can choose a barcode to start on scan. So the test won't start unless you scanned a barcode to get that data. Lock the tester. So we have the ability to lock the current program so that it can't be edited. We have the ability to lock parameter editing, so we can't edit anything. Then we have the ability to lock out the calibration. If you have curious operators that like to go in and see different menus, there are chances there that they could make an improper setting. So we set a PIN number, and once you have a PIN number set, the only way to unlock it is to have that PIN number back in here. And that's set in that lock screen. We have onboard statistics that keep track of the actual test pressure and the decay results to give you some onboard feedback, as well as engineering units. We can change the resolution of what you see as far as the test pressure and the resolution of the result. We can get up to 5 digits behind the decimal place for the result and 3 digits behind decimal place for the test pressure. Then we have engineering units that can be changed. PSI, millibar, kilopascals, and what have you. The most common units are on here. As well as if our tester had a flow, we can choose between standard cubic centimeters per minute or standard liters per minute. It just shifts the decimal places to where the value is. And we can also change between running in seconds or running in minutes. Right now it's set as seconds. We have Ethernet settings where we can set the IP address so that our computer or whatever system or our PLC can communicate with it. We can either do a DHCP where it can go out and grab its own IP, or you can do a static value where you set the value. Then we have the calibration screen. When this button is pressed, a big warning comes up on the screen and says, don't go in here if you don't know what you're doing. The calibration is really what runs the entire test. If the calibration gets modified, that could affect the results of the test. This is where we calibrate the full scale of all the sensors so that the processor can understand what value it's seeing. You can see we can calibrate the positive pressure, the vacuum pressure, and the flow. Those are the three parts of the calibration that we can take care of. Your machine might not have flow, but it'll have a value to say calibrate flow. This way we keep the system same across everybody. So once you know one system, you know all systems. The About screen gives us our firmware version, our serial number. So in case you're calling into service because you're having an issue, they'll want to know the serial number of the device, and most likely they want to know the firmware version of what you have so they can look up the system and then check your complaint to see if there's something that they know is a known fix or something they can help you figure out. Once you know where everything is, it's fairly simple. Thanks for watching.